Welcome to the Stories of Starting podcast. I'm Heather Boyd. As a self-employed artist for the last 30 years, I'm fascinated with people's passions and creative projects. In this series, we discover how people like you have started new projects by thinking outside the box, going with the flow, and tapping into their childhood imagination. So hey there guys, today we're with my friend Nedia El Khouri and we're at her beautiful galleries. So Nedia, could you please introduce yourself and tell everybody what you do?
Sure, I will. Thank you for coming, Heather. Welcome. So my name is Nedia El Khouri and I live in Montreal. It's where currently we have my gallery in the West Island of Montreal. 10 years and counting, which is really a great celebration of the 10 years of being open and so on.
It's incredible. So as always, I'm going to backtrack a little bit just to tell people how we met.
Okay.
So we met, many moons ago when our daughters were going into grade 1 at Christmas Park School. And of course now they're in their 20s and doing their thing. And so we connected right away. And of course we had the art in common that we loved.
Yes.
Yeah. And we used to do little art nights with the moms would have art nights and the kids would, play or go to sleep or whatever. And then fast forward a few years, I remember you invited, all the girlfriends over to introduce them to your new space, your new business. And we had no clue. We had no clue this was cooking, but Nedia sat us down and said, look, I'm opening an art gallery, and we're like, wow, that's pretty awesome.
Jump in, as I'm wont to do, right?
Exactly. So tell us a little bit what inspired the gallery and how it all started.
Well, I think that for me, I moved around a lot. I'm born in Brazil. We moved when I was young, 10 years old, Heather.
Okay.
I moved from Brazil to Halifax, Nova Scotia. And landed here in November, So I think that kind of set the tone, where I have a very adventurous spirit. So I'm not afraid to jump in. I think there's a lot to be said for doing that because I think fear can hold us back. And I do have a background that probably helped me to open the gallery or decide to do it. When I landed in Montreal about 15 years ago, I came with the idea of opening a gallery and an art center. I had gone back to Brazil. My kids were born there. And when I was there, I opened a small business. It was a language art center. So art has always been involved in what I do. And then after 5 years of being in Brazil, we made a decision to move back. Landed here after a few moves, like New Brunswick, Portneuf, Quebec, which is a small French village, and landed in Montreal. When I landed in Montreal, I really wanted to open an art center and an art gallery.
Cool.
And what I did was I looked around, and at that time there were quite a few art centers or community centers, mostly municipal galleries that were around the West Island. And I held off a little bit because I thought, well, everyone is doing already this, what I want to be doing, so maybe I'll hold off. And I waited for a few years. When my kids, Heather and I met, I think you and I met at the elementary level when our kids went into high school about 5 years after I'd moved to Montreal. I thought, you know what, I'm going to regret it if I don't do it. And I thought, I'm going to do it. I was doing a lot of contract work at the time, and I just kind of stopped. January of a new year, I decided I'm going to look for a commercial space. I'm going to jump in and start to kind of fulfill that dream that I had of having an art gallery and an art center.
Oh, that's amazing. And of course you have a background in fine art and you were teaching for many years as well.
That's right.
So this combines the love of art and the love of teaching. And I'd love to talk just a little bit about your studies in fine art as well, because you studied filmmaking, photography, and dance, I think, when you were in school.
I did a little bit of everything because my bachelor's in Halifax. I attended NASCAD University. which I think actually the gallery has a lot of that influence, you know, that I got in NASCAD. When I was there, I did a BFA. I actually started in graphic design. And I started with a foundation in fine art. Then the second year, with the intention of getting a graphic design and visual communication. When I got into the first semester of graphic design, it was too much in the box for me.
Okay, yes.
You know, so I'm like, okay, I can't. I think then I switched back to fine art.
Okay, cool.
And did quite a few different mediums. You know, I did a little bit of jewelry. I did some pottery. My studio, mostly my concentration was in film and photography and mixed media installation.
Wow, amazing.
And performance, right?
Yes.
So all that, I think, really lends itself to what I'm doing here, because you know, every time I mount an exhibition or or even in the educational programs, there's always a story that we're telling, you know, that I'm telling. So I think that background at NASCAD and what I was involved in doing there certainly guides me in what I do here. You know?
Yes. I mean, because there's so many projects, and one of my favorite courses that you offer at the gallery, of course, is the Creative Sampler class, which I actually teach a module in how to do watercolor and wire art.
That's right.
And it's really special, and I remember thinking when you started offering that class that I hadn't really seen classes like that offered before, where people can really just get a taste of so many different kinds of media, and not necessarily like go into it with not necessarily any experience in any of it, but they leave with such an abundance of knowledge with these different techniques, which is really great. I love that.
Yeah, and I think that came about, I don't know, I think I find as an entrepreneur, you know, I think we one of the things that's really important for an entrepreneur in anything that you're doing is to really kind of get a sense and be tuned into your clients and what they're looking for. And I think that a lot of what I do in terms of what I teach, how these workshops come up, come from the inspiration of what's around me. You know, so people asking me, well, you know, I'm not really sure what are different mediums, what I would like. I'm a beginner at everything. You know, a lot of people come. I think there's such a need to instill confidence through creativity in people and to educate, which is one of our biggest mandates about the importance of art in our lives, you know?
Absolutely.
So then these programs get created, and the different themes for our art camps, which are really popular, all come from that, you know, like the inspiration from around, you know.
The camps are fantastic. I know that my daughter's participated when she was younger in a lot of them, like the photography camp, graffiti camp. I remember you had the like a comic. What was it? Not comic. What was that?
Yeah,
camp?
It was cartoon.
Cartoons. Yes.
There were so many names that we've called that one.
That's right. But I remember that one was so fun, and I came in to teach that one too, and it was really fun because I had started writing the comics, and it was really great to get the kids involved with sort of doing like a group type comic type of thing, and that's an underlying thing that you do a lot at the gallery are these group communal projects type of thing.
That's right.
Yeah, and I love when you do birthday parties for adults and kids. One of the mainstays that you do in your parties is to have a communal canvas, so everybody comes and contributes to the canvas.
Which I think is great. I think for me as an artist, you know, a lot of what I do, I don't have a lot of time, unfortunately, now between the gallery and the educational programs to do a lot of my own art, although I'm really leaning towards going back to that, you know, as we grow and we're able to you know, delegate more to different people and afford the you know, employees and so on, it maybe frees up a little bit of time to go back to the art. But a lot of what I've always liked to do is crowdsource, you know, installational pieces. So when you put something out and then you get people that have an opinion or participate in it or contribute to it, and I love what happens, the dynamics, you know, of that type of art piece where it's really a communal effort, and then everyone walks away from it, I think, a little bit changed, you know?
Absolutely, no, and I love the piece you have currently out front. It's the yarn bombing, so I guess that was part of Culture Days or one of those events that they did.
It started actually in our art camp with a yarn bombing of the tree outside, all really colorful, and it kind of petered into the weekend, into our Point Claire Village Days, where we got people to participate and help us to color that tree in yarn.
I love it. Yeah, it's so beautiful, and it's true. The graffiti camp was one of your and continues to be one of your most popular camps, and I just love it. I mean, you guys would go over to the park with your spray cans and have these big panels that you would spray. I mean, it was just, the kids loved it. They thrived on it.
And they do, and we always teach them the difference between vandalism and graffiti art.
Yes,
you know?
Good point.
But no, those kind of things, I think it's really important for me, I think it's important for kids and adults to understand all types of art forms, you know, so not just, you know, classical art as we know it, you know, from the art historical perspective, but all different types of art forms, including you know, street art and graffiti art and installation work and, you know, advocacy art, how a lot of artists are now using art to advocate for all sorts of issues, you know, not just political issues, but environmental issues and social issues, like our mental health show as well is one that we do, you know.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about the mental health show. That's a beautiful show.
So the mental health show started with, it's a collaboration between a good friend of mine and Novak Vrana, who I used to work with at a high school, and she was a community animator there. So she approached me, she said, Nadia, I've always wanted to do something about mental health. Would you be interested in it? And I'm like, definitely up my alley, because it's also dear to my heart. I think it's something that we need to talk about. So we decided to put out, what we do is collaborate a variety of different art schools, high schools, different mental health centers, as well from the community, and many artists participate to create an exhibition where we really try to advocate for mental health and destigmatize and get get people talking about it, you know. We raise some funds in it to give to, usually it goes to one of the mental health centers that participates in the exhibition, and this year was our 8th year, which is amazing. So it's an annual event that we do, and it's growing every year. We have more participants, and it's really interesting to see how the show changes from year to year.
It's a beautiful show. I'll definitely link up some photos from the show in the blog as well.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, and also I'd like to talk about, you went back to school to get your master's, and how did you manage that while running a gallery full time?
Well, I decided, and I'd always wanted to do that, but you know, after art school, we traveled, we moved, and I had kids, and et cetera, et cetera. So I wanted to do my master's, and I decided again. And it'd been brewing even before I opened the gallery. I sort of, you know, went to, I actually went to Concordia, met with an advisor to discuss the possibility, and then I opened the gallery, and it got put in the back burner. Then I decided, you know what, I really want to do it. I want to do this for me, and just to validate maybe a little bit what we're doing here. So I went online and I researched for programs that were mostly offered online, because physically there was no way I could attend, you know, run the gallery as well as physically attend university to do my master's. So I found a couple of programs that were recognized, really well recognized programs, where you did the program that was being offered at the university, and also required that we participate in some studio programs. It was a program that was given to practicing artists and teachers and community advocates, like for us, for example. So, you know, it was a grueling process to try and get in. I had to submit a portfolio, et cetera, get GPS references and so on, and I got into the program. Most of it was an intense program, and most of it I did through courses online, conference calls, and platforms where you could exchange ideas, and you were required to do it. And then through Boston University, Fine Art College. And then I did a summer stint in Boston in a studio. So I kind of went back to that studio, to art, you know, to the art college days, and did printmaking and book arts.
Yeah, I remember you doing that. That must have felt so good to immerse yourself in that.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because they had these kind of quirky awards that they gave out at the end, you know, all in fun. And I ended up getting the biggest lab rat award because guess who was in the studio 24/7? Right? Like, they would ask, who turned off the lights and shut the studio down? I'm like, I did, you know. So it's like, I just loved it because, of course, I don't get that opportunity to do so, and I don't get that opportunity as often as I used to be able to do it here now with the business, you know.
Well, like you said, to work on your own art, you know, all of what you do is super creative, but to be able to actually spend a chunk of time and work on your own pieces, it's a totally different dynamic.
It is, and I really love it, and I miss it, you know. So I think the mandate is for me personally is to actually get back into finding time and carving out time to be able to do that. It's really difficult to do it out of here. You know, and I think anybody, right, Heather, who has a business that they're doing, it's a balance. And for me, I get interrupted a lot here. So even sometimes there'll be a workshop that I'm interested in taking that you know we're giving here, but I get interrupted so much. So I think the best case scenario for me is to actually go elsewhere to be able to delve back into my own personal art, you know.
Yeah, I'm the same way because I do work at home, but yet I really cherish when I do go out to a workshop or to life drawing classes or what have you, just to get out and do it in a different context as well. It's always more interesting.
Yeah, well, you're so great because you're very disciplined in that as well, Heather, which I think is really important. Very difficult to run a business or do anything out of even your own art studio, right? Out of your home, I find, because you know, and that's kind of like, I pretty much live here. I'm 24/7 here, so it's kind of the same idea, you know. Very difficult to, you have to really carve out time, alone time almost, to be able to do and catch up on things that you need to do artistically.
Well, yeah, and certainly now you've found more, you know, reliable people that can take over, like if you have to go away for a weekend or what have you. I remember at the beginning you couldn't get away at all, but at least now you're able to do that, which is great. Yes,
I mean, at the beginning it was every penny, you know, it was so difficult. I mean, for galleries especially, sometimes there's not an understanding about what it takes to run a gallery, you know, and what we're about in terms of promotion of the artist and things like that. It's really a 24/7. Like professional gallery associations don't recognize a gallery until it's 10 years old.
Oh, interesting.
Brick and mortar, like, you know, that you have a business for 10 years, because so many of them end up failing because it's not an easy sell, right? So.
Well, I think what's important too to realize is the importance of a gallery in the evolution of the artist as well, because I know certainly with some of your other artists, but for sure from my own experience, when you opened the gallery, you commissioned me, you knew what I did, like mostly wire work and other crafts, and you commissioned me to do some works that would fit in with your vision of the gallery. So I remember at first you, I mean, the gallery has expanded a lot since then, but at the time you were only selling handmade items, so only selling handmade cards, and so you asked me to make some mixed media cards that you could sell, and I was, you know, a little stumped at beginning, and then I started experimenting, doing what do I do with this wire to create a card. So then I started doing watercolor backgrounds and the wire in the foreground, and did a few mixed media pieces and greeting cards, and that was like in the first collection in the gallery when it first opened. I was doing that, and then over the years, thanks to your feedback, thanks to feedbacks of your clients, I've been able to really evolve my work into something that was gallery worthy type of thing. And I think some people don't realize that, you know, it's not always the artist that just comes with all this great work and suddenly the gallery represents them. You're constantly giving feedback to your artists about what, you know, what would be good, and I know your artists are very receptive to that, to having your ideas. So tell me a little bit about your sort of collaborations with the artists and how their work might have evolved.
I think that, I mean, we have artists that have been with us, right, 10 years from the beginning, like you, Heather, right? And I think that it's always a partnership of sorts, because I think that you know, I come from an artist background.
Yeah.
So for me, it's very difficult, and I don't like to, and I don't do, what I don't do is tell an artist, you know, this is what you have to do.
Exactly.
Because I think that's the worst thing you
Yeah.
can tell an artist. It's very stifling.
Yeah.
It's not something that instills creativity in the
Yeah.
artist to be able to create, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that I always like to leave it open, because open-ended, you know.
Yeah.
So you still, for the artist, they're still creating what they love to do,
Yeah.
and it's coming from whatever place they come from to create. But at the same time, I think a lot of artists, we go through spells of you know, like artist blocks, you know, they're like writer's block, where you're not sure where to go or what you need to do, and then I think that feedback that you give to an artist, or that exchange back and forth, and well, let's have a look at what we did in the past, and you know, if this is not comfortable, why is it not comfortable? So those kind of exchanges, I think, really helps an artist to improve.
Yeah, it's a real
and
conversation. It's really, that's what I love about it, is because, like you said, you're not saying you have to do this, but yet you're seeing things from a different perspective and a different eye, and it's always helpful to get that feedback, really. Yeah, absolutely.
One of the things that I find happens a lot, you know, from my perspective as, say, the gallery owner, one of the things that I think we give artists, you know, is I think we push, you know, them to go beyond.
Yes.
You know, I think I do that, certainly, with the relationship that I have with my artists. I'll say, well, you know, I can see this work is bigger.
Yes.
You know, why don't we go bigger? And then, you know, they go bigger.
Yeah.
Because I think as we, especially artists, a lot of the time we place limitations on ourselves, you know, where we're afraid. It's that whole thing about jumping in, right? You kind of set these barriers, you're afraid to go beyond it because you're comfortable where you are. So I think those kind of exchanges that you have with creative people help you to go past those limitations, you know, or those fears.
That's it.
I think it's important in both ways, you know, like the exchanges that I have with my artists, or the exchanges that I have with my clients, you know, it really is, there's so much that I gain from that. And I think if it was just a brick and mortar and there was no life in it, you know, I think I would have been done a long time ago. You know, one of the reasons why I called the gallery Viva, Vida, which is Portuguese, you know, to celebrate life or live life, is because I really believe that life is art is integral to our lives, and then for me it's an important task or mandate as a gallery and as an artist to be able to inform people and teach people and educate people about that, you know, how important art is.
Absolutely. And tell us a little bit about your community involvement, because I know that's something that's always been super important to you, is giving back to the community and involving the community even in schools. So tell us a little bit about that.
So I've always been community oriented, you know, and I think it's because I was born in a really small town where everybody knows everybody, you know, and you're like waving down as you walk by. I had horses and the whole bit. It was very cultural town. So I think that for me, I love being part of a community, you know. So because I love that, and I think it's such an important part of my upbringing in my life, and I think it only comes with, a lot of the time, well, no, I can't say it only comes with good, because there are all sorts of issues that come with, you know, being part of a community, compromise and all that other stuff. But because I love being part of a community and have always been involved in whatever I do, you know, through work or not, my personal life as well, and when my kids were in school, what have you, then I really felt that our gallery needed to be a community-oriented gallery. So we do a lot with community, and interestingly enough, when I went back to do my master's, I really felt that it validated what we're doing here, because there's a lot, the trendy is to now go towards community, you know.
Interesting, yes.
Art is changing, and it's very accessible now to anybody, and that has a computer, whatever, you can learn about art, to research it. So that gallery where, you know, you're afraid to walk in to, I don't think it's part of our, it's not as relevant as now in today's art world as it used to be. You know, our museums, like you look at Musée des Beaux-Arts, they're doing all sorts of programs where it's involving the public and bringing community in.
Yeah.
So for me, it's really important, and we do a lot with community. You know, a lot of, I think that every project that I take on, I always think beyond it to community, not just local, but the national and international community, because with the virtual world, right? It's a small world. It's not a big world, you know?
Yeah, no, it's true. You do have your online presence now too with the V shop and with where people can browse products and buy anywhere in the world, really. So I'm definitely going to link that up as well. And that's the thing I love about this gallery is it's very, you've got incredible contemporary art of many different styles, but yet the gallery is very accessible. You know, we're in a nice village, Point Claire Village. A lot of walk-by traffic, people can wander in, and they're always welcomed in. You don't get that feeling that it's a stuffy gallery, and you've got the boutique at the front, and then the larger pieces at the back. It's really great.
Yeah, and that's it. I think for me, it's really important that art for me is really about communication, right? And I think that when people are afraid to walk into a gallery, or to ask a question, or you know, that then we're not doing our job as artists, or as, you know, I think it's really important to make it accessible. And I think when you make it accessible, the importance of it in our lives then is the result of that knowledge or of that education, you know, that comes with it.
And is there anything else you'd like to tell us, either about the gallery, about your experiences? Anything goes.
Essentially, in any kind of entrepreneurial endeavor, whether it be art related or not, it always, I think it's important, it has to be a labor of love. There has to be passion in it. And also you have to be able to compromise on a lot of your ideas, not selling your soul. Because I think that if you compromise too much, and if you do sell your soul, what I say is sell your soul, you end up being very unhappy and it doesn't succeed, you know, what you do. But I think having an understanding that not everything is going to be exactly as you plan it, and then understanding also that, you know, it's blood, sweat, and tears. You know, you have to be able to make any kind of business succeed, as we know, right, Heather? It's not an easy endeavor, and you do have to be prepared to give a lot. So if you don't have that stamina or that dedication or that love for what you do, I think it's hard. It's very difficult to make it succeed.
And so tell everybody where they can find you online and off.
So we're located, our brick and mortar, our gallery is located in the Point Claire Village, which is the West Island of Montreal. And it's a beautiful little village. I think it's great for, you know, it's an oasis away from not the city, because it's very urban as well, but, you know, we're not near the water, so it's a nice little quaint village.
And it's not far. People say, oh, West Island is so far. You hop on the 211 bus at Lionel Grew and you're here in no time. And it's worth the trip, definitely.
And then we also have, we've had a website since I started. I think it's really important for a business to have that. We've had, so it's vivavidaartgallery.com.
Perfect.
And then we have our V shop, which is our online boutique, where you can purchase and see our artwork, as well as one-of-a-kind pieces like jewelry online, and that's the V shop, VESHOP.com.
Perfect. And then you're also on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, I think. And then just tell us a little bit about the services you offer. I know you do framing, you have courses, you have kids' birthday parties. So just tell us a wee bit about all your services.
Okay, so we're a gallery that exhibits on the ongoing basis. I try really hard to get 6 solo exhibitions a year and group exhibitions as well. We are also an art center where we offer a variety of different workshops and courses. We have a great art camp program. We do everything that's in art. So we have art birthday parties. Again, for me, it's really important to keep it moving and keep things happening. And I think one thing feeds the other. You know, the more you're exposing people to art, the more people appreciate it and adopt it in their lives, you know. So I think that's very important. And we have our framing as well. We do it really well. We design well, I always say. Because again, I think, you know, where we're selling artwork, the framing is part and parcel of that as well. I think for a lot of people that appreciate art, they also appreciate the custom aspects of framing, you know, that go with it. So.
That's right. And then of course you have your ongoing classes, art classes for adults and kids, and workshops. Like last weekend I did a workshop doing Chinese brush painting. I've taken so many of the workshops here, and I give workshops as well.
Yes, that's right. You gave workshops as well. Quite a few jewelry ones we've done. Quite a bit. So and those are really well received, and I think you know, and I think that I love to incorporate new ideas and new educational workshops that come up in art. We tend to try and offer that, and constantly changing and mixing it up, and cultural experiences as well, you know.
Fantastic. Good. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. That's so
Thank you
awesome.
for asking me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and we'll see everybody the next time on the podcast.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks so much for tuning in to Stories of Starting. Until next time, always remember, your story matters.